Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of my look at the Star Wars Special Edition changes. Again, I'm doing all this in prep for The Last Jedi coming out next weekend. Holy crap. So this week we're going to be talking about The Empire Strikes Back. Out of the first 3 Star Wars films made, Empire Strikes Back was the one that got the least amount of changes made to it. I think part of that might have to do with the fact that the film's director, Irvin Kershner, was still alive by the time the special editions came out, so George Lucas couldn't alter with it that much, as opposed to with Return of the Jedi, where the director of that movie died sometime before the special editions were even conceived. But anyway, let's get into the changes for Empire Strikes Back. The first major change started with the 1997 special editions, and that's new scenes involving the Wampa. In the original version, we hardly see the Wampa. We got to see its face when it attacked Luke and his Tauntaun out in the cold, desolate wasteland of Hoth. But outside of that, once Luke is in the cave and makes his escape, we hardly see the Wampa. We see a little bit of its body, but a lot of it's shrouded in mystery, sort of like the shark from Jaws. Now, in the special edition version, there are new scenes shot with a guy in a Wampa suit basically eating Luke's Tauntaun as Luke is dangling from the ceiling. And this is a change that I don't mind too much. I do love that George Lucas decided to use a man in a suit instead of making the Wampa CGI, because that shit would have been awkward. At the same time, we probably didn't need to see the Wampa. What made the Wampa scary in the original version was exactly what made the shark from Jaws scary to begin with. The fear of the unknown, something that you can't see. Now, all that being said, when I originally saw The Empire Strikes Back, and my first exposure was through the special editions, seeing the Wampa missing an arm after Luke chopped it off, that shit terrified me as a kid. Because that was the first time I ever saw a limb being amputated in any movie to begin with. Even though it was science fiction, even though lightsaber cuts are unable to make your opponents bleed, that shit still terrified me because you have this giant creature missing an arm. And it also just shocked me when Luke lost his hand in the big lightsaber duel at the end of the movie. But whatever. I don't mind this change. I would have preferred the original version because, again, the fear of the unknown is scarier than what you can actually see. But hey, whatever. Now, there's a good chunk of Empire Strikes Back that goes on without any changes being made to it. The next real major change actually comes from the 2004 DVD version when we get our first glimpse of the Emperor. So think about that. The Wampa scene, and then a long period of time before a change actually happens. We go through the Battle of Hoth, the escape through the asteroid field, and meeting Yoda before we actually get a new change. So with the Emperor in the 2004 DVD version, they replaced the original actor, or actors, I should say, with Ian McDiarmid, who played the Emperor since Return of the Jedi. Now, the Emperor in the original version of Empire Strikes Back, and even the 1997 special edition, was played by the wife of makeup artist Rick Baker. She was covered in pounds of makeup and had superimposed chimp eyes. Huh, that's weird. But the voice of the Emperor was provided by Clive Revill, and I'm gonna piss off some people who have grown up with the original films since they first came out. I never liked this version of the Emperor. I'm sorry, this one just does not do it for me. And let's not kid ourselves. Ian McDiarmid is the classic Emperor. He is the one that everyone remembers. He played him so well in Return of the Jedi, and as bad as the prequels were, he still did a menacing job in those, especially Revenge of the Sith. So this is a change that's more than welcome for me, because Ian McDiarmid is the classic Emperor. He's the only Emperor Palpatine. The only thing that I wish they didn't do was alter the dialogue, because the dialogue spoken in the new version is exactly like the dialogue given by Luke and Vader right after the "I am your father" bombshell. In the original version, the dialogue was this: "We have a new enemy, Luke Skywalker. Yes, my master. He could destroy us." Now, in the 2004 DVD version, it's this: "We have a new enemy, the young rebel who destroyed the Death Star. I have no doubt this boy is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker. How is that possible? Search your feelings, Lord Vader. You will know it to be true. He could destroy us." See, it's just very similar to, "That's not true. That's impossible! Search your feelings, you know it to be true." And what I also don't like is that it's a little more revealing that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker. And that's something that new audiences who are discovering the movies for the first time should not know. They should go into the original trilogy as cold as possible with the reveal that Darth Vader is Luke's father. So putting in Ian McDiarmid, I actually like. Altering the dialogue, not so much. The next change is another one from the 2004 DVD version, and that's replacing the original voice for Boba Fett. In the original version, Jason Wingard was the voice for Boba Fett. In this one, it's Temuera Morrison, who played Jango Fett and the clones in the prequels. And how do I put this? I never liked Jason Wingard's delivery of the lines for Boba Fett in the original version. Now, again, you have to take into consideration that the special editions were the movies that I kind of watched first. And I didn't own the Star Wars trilogy on VHS. I didn't even own the movies until they came out on DVD. And once they came out on DVD, that's when I started rewatching the original trilogy over and over and over again. So I was always familiar with Temuera Morrison voicing Boba Fett. I have seen the original unaltered versions beforehand, obviously, but Empire Strikes Back was the one that I watched the least. It's funny, with both Harry Potter and Star Wars, the best movie in both series is the one that I've actually watched the least. But anyway, I never remembered how Boba Fett sounded in the original version. And then once I actually watched the original version in my late teens and listened to Jason Wingard, he just doesn't do it for me. There's something about his delivery that sounds a little too cartoonish and over the top. The one line that I always point to is when Boba Fett questions Vader on whether or not Han will survive the carbon freezing process. Jason Wingard delivers the line like this: "What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me." Now, Temuera Morrison delivers that line in a little more of a subtle way. "What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me." Now, I know some people might make an argument for a bland delivery, but it just, I don't know, there's something about that just feels a little better than the goofy nature that Wingard did. And plus, this change was obviously made to keep in continuity with the prequels, since Boba Fett is an unaltered clone of Jango Fett, which is something that I still don't like. There's really no point in having that little detail there. Whatever. This is a change that I'm mixed upon, but I don't care in the long run. The next change is something from the 1997 Special Edition, and it's all of the CGI shots of Cloud City and the addition of a lot of windows and balconies. This is a change that's actually very welcome, because Cloud City felt very cold and isolated in the original theatrical version, when Lando Calrissian and the Cloud City theme by John Williams was just very upbeat. So I imagine that Cloud City would have been a little more open, and in the special editions, it's made to be a little more open, and I like it. Now, a lot of the changes in Empire Strikes Back, if I don't care for them, I at least welcome them. I can't say the same for this one, though. The next change is something that was exclusive to only the 1997 Special Edition, and that's the scream that Luke gives off after he lets go of the pillar and falls down the depths of Cloud City after learning the terrible truth about his father. What I fucking despise about this scream is that it's obviously the Emperor's scream from Return of the Jedi after Vader throws him down one of the many bottomless pits that the Death Star has, because it sounds nothing like Mark Hamill, nothing at all. And two, it doesn't work within the context of the scene. I may have mentioned this in my review for Empire Strikes Back 2 years ago, but after Luke finds out that Darth Vader is in fact his father, he willingly lets go of the pillar, because the worst possible thing that could ever happen to him did indeed happen to him, so he willingly lets go. He willingly falls down the pit and kind of accepts death. By putting in that scream, it's like in one of the many Robot Chicken sketches that they did, where he just kind of slips and falls. So, I don't know, like, I would hate this scene even more. I would, like, really hold a grudge against this scene if George Lucas wasn't smart enough to remove it for the 2004 DVD version, because in the DVD and the Blu-ray, that scream is not there. So, at least there's one terrible change that he went back on. I wish you could say the same for some other changes, but again, we'll get to some of those other changes next week. The next change comes from what I thought was the 2004 DVD version, but is actually the 1997 Special Edition, and that's showing Vader's shuttle leaving Bespin and heading back to the Executor. The reason I thought this was part of the 2004 DVD version is because when they showed the CGI shot of the shuttle landing in the hangar, it looks like 2004 CGI. It doesn't look like CGI that belonged in 1997. And then when Vader exits the shuttle, it's an alternate take from his arrival to the Death Star 2 in Return of the Jedi, because you even see the Death Star commander moving his lips, but no dialogue comes out. This change I don't like. It's not the fact that it's like CG heavy. That's not what bothers me. What bothers me is that it takes place after Leia, Lando, Chewie, and the droids save Luke, and it slows down the action. The Falcon is being chased by a fleet of TIE fighters, and all of a sudden it cuts to show Vader's shuttle arriving on the Executor, and it just creates a lull in the action. It just doesn't work at all. So whenever I watch The Empire Strikes Back on Blu-ray, because that's the only movie in the original trilogy that I'll watch on Blu-ray from beginning to end willingly, I tend to fast forward because it's just so unnecessary. And that's pretty much it. Those are all the major changes in Empire Strikes Back. There were some little enhancements in the 2004 DVD and the 2011 Blu-ray. In the DVD, they switched the badge on Admiral Piet because in the theatrical version, it was on the wrong side and it was corrected to the correct side in the DVD. So that's something that I like. And then in the Blu-ray, they hide the puppeteer's arm that was slightly visible during the Wampa attack. With the Wampa scene where you see the puppeteer's arm, it's something that I actually never noticed until it was brought to my attention for the release of the Blu-ray. And I feel like if you didn't make this change, nobody would have ever continued to notice it. It's like with the Blu-ray release of James Cameron's Aliens. When James Cameron was personally in charge of restoring Aliens to be on Blu-ray, he saw that Lance Henriksen's body was sticking out from the hole he was standing in as Bishop is trying to save Newt from being sucked into the vacuum of space. And it's something that I never noticed until James Cameron himself actually pointed it out. Because the whole time everyone's focused on whether or not Bishop is going to catch Newt. But for the 2010 Blu-ray release of Aliens, James Cameron digitally erased Lance Henriksen's body, so it looks like Bishop is really cut in half. But I'm not talking about Aliens, I'm talking about Star Wars. If there were any changes that I really do appreciate, it's when they fix errors when you can see crew members. So that I admire. And that pretty much does it for the changes of Empire Strikes Back. Again, I'm only doing the ones that are really worth mentioning. If there are any changes at all that I may have missed, just leave them in the comments below and tell me about them. So next weekend is going to be the official release of The Last Jedi, but before that, I have one more video to do, and that's the special edition changes made to Return of the Jedi, which I am dreading, because out of all the Star Wars Special Edition changes, Return of the Jedi has the ones that I fucking despise to the very end. But we'll save it for next week. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on the Special Edition changes for Empire Strikes Back. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? And as always, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.